Welcome to another episode of Behind the Catch Fence. I'm your host, David Hoffman. We went to an SRX race. Now get ready for the full breakdown. Let's go! Well guys, we had a really cool opportunity this past week, and that was, as you can see by the title of this video, was to cover the Superstar Racing experience at Motor Mile Speedway in Pulaski County, Virginia. Now this started as a lighthearted idea from my wife last week while we were watching last week's race at Stafford, but it quickly turned into a reality. So we decided to travel over 6 hours to get to the track. And of course you're probably wondering if we got any exclusive interviews. Well, as a matter of fact, we did. Before heat racing got started and everything else got underway, we spoke with Paul Tracy, Josef Newgarden, and Clint Boyer. Take a look. Back at SRX, first time since Nashville last year, just what did you take away from that race? I know it was a pretty hot race, obviously it'll be hot tonight. What can you take from that race and bring into here tonight?
It was great to run Nashville. For me it was just an experience gainer. It's the first time I've ever been in something like a stock car, so that was enjoyable. Get another opportunity tonight, and regardless of if I'm first or last, kind of a funny statement, but either way, we end up. I'm here for the experience, the fun of it, and I think we're really just putting on a show here tonight for everybody.
What makes Motor Mile such a unique racetrack that you've something that you haven't run before? Does it kind of compare to Iowa, or how's that kind of compare?
Yeah, I've really not run short tracks that are modeled like this, where they're pretty tiny to what we're used to. On an IndyCar, a short track is really a mile, maybe just under. Iowa is certainly the shortest that we go to, just under a mile. Whereas I think, what is this, 0.4, 0.5, so it's definitely smaller than what I'm used to, but these cars are very different to what I'm used to. So I think just the whole experience is different for me, but something I've been loving to do, and it's great to be here with this cast of drivers.
And going IndyCar a little bit, sweeping Iowa, how much confidence does that give you guys, knowing, you chopped off 40 points or more off of Pelot's lead, but knowing that you've got the car, you've got the speed, how do you catch a guy like that in the midst of, he's got a good big lead?
Yeah, Pelot's in a great position, there's no doubt. I think it will take an enormous effort for us to catch him towards the end of the year, but we've got to stay focused and give our best. You just never know how these things shape up. He's obviously he's not had a bad result this year, so that's why the points have stacked the way they are. For us, we've had too many races that have kind of gotten away from us for one reason or another. And so I think the opportunity to catch him is there. We'll have to find out together if it materializes, but maximizing Iowa was a good win for us.
And final question, and you've had a couple months to digest the Indy 500 win. Is there what kind of core memory do you have that maybe some people may not know that kind of still sticks out to you and kind of comes to mind every time someone mentions Indy?
I think for me it's really just 100 feet before the finish line. I knew it was going to happen. I knew we had done what we needed to do on that day. So that's what I always go back to. In that specific moment, it's just hard to explain what that felt like. I don't even know myself until it was transpiring. So yeah, just there's so much that happens at the end of the race, that you get to celebrate with family and friends and 300,000 people that are there. It's a really special event. I've never done anything like that, and so I'll remember that for a long time. Great to finally figure it out. It's a tough race. That race, more than any other, you have to be 100% perfect on the day, and it's just a difficult thing to do. I don't think people realize how perfect the day has to go, and so when it does work out, it's really gratifying.
Who's going to be spotted first trying to go grab a burger during the heat races? In between?
I don't know, Ryan Newman. He's the biggest guy, maybe.
Who's most likely to forget something on the grid?
I would probably say Tony.
Why Tony?
Well, he just doesn't. He doesn't wear a lot of the equipment. Like, he doesn't wear a Hans, he doesn't wear a balaclava, so I guess he doesn't really have a lot of stuff to forget. But I couldn't find my balaclava this morning, and I actually had it. I had it in my hand, and I was kept asking, "Have you seen my balaclava?" And I actually had it in my hand. So it's one of those type of situations.
And final two questions: who's going to be late to the grid right before the feature?
Tony's usually the last guy to the grid.
Why is it always Tony? It seems like
he's pretty lax about getting dressed. Like last week, we were it was 10 minutes before we needed to be on the grid, and everybody was dressed, and he wasn't even dressed yet. So
And who is most likely going to watch the Barbie movie?
I don't know. I think Joseph might be most likely to go to the Barbie movie with his wife. 100%.
First week with SRX, take me through that first one. I know it seemed a little bit wild there from your perspective, and racing up front, and then a couple mishaps and everything else.
My gosh, so much fun. No idea what to expect. Go up there, Stafford, Connecticut. What a cool racetrack. First and foremost, to succeed with a series like this, you got to have all the ingredients. What are those ingredients? Cool cars. These cars are perfect for this. Big and bang on each other. They're tough. They're strong. Got some power under the hood. Make good grip with the radial tire that they went to this year. So you got that. You got a list of drivers that, my gosh, could you ask for anything cooler than for me to be able to race against Josef Newgarden? This cat just won the Indianapolis 500. Kyle Busch, champion. A champion, for crying out loud. Keselowski, another champion of NASCAR. Just keep going. Elio Castroneves, it's such a cool lineup of drivers to compete against. So you have that. The series itself, such a these guys have worked their tails off rebuilding these cars and get them up and down, the road just for this. It's hard to gear up for 6 races. And you think about that, you watch Cup, you watch IndyCar, that's a professionally done thing all the way through. And I'm not saying this is professional, but I'm saying the funding, the help, those are full-time employees. You can't hire 100 full-time people for 6 races. So to be able to piece all this together and make it work is a phenomenal job organizationally. Last and certainly not least is these racetracks. Stafford, what an awesome racetrack. This gives me an opportunity to race on the short tracks of America that I didn't necessarily get a chance to race at. I was a Midwestern guy, did all my stuff out there, started to take off through the ranks and stepping stones of NASCAR through RCR, right? This gives me a chance to come back to some cool racetracks I always wanted to race at. Stafford, what an awesome track. Here, look at this place. Could not believe how nice this track is. The facility's fantastic. The fan base is packed. And I'm excited. I'm nervous again. It's been 3 years. And to have those nerves and that feeling back feels so good.
And you mentioned with it being a couple of years since you last ran full-time and everything else, how hard has it been to kind of get back into the swing of things, or is it kind of like riding a bike like some people say?
Well, they damn sure don't give you much time. 5 laps of practice, I'm like, I sure like to have a few more of those. No chance. Everybody got out. Doesn't matter if you're an Indianapolis 500 champ or a, Kyle Busch. We're all like, man, that wasn't much practice. 5 laps. So I think that's what lends itself to these heat races. Everybody, you got to go. The format has it in which where you have to go immediately and pounce on those guys because every position matters. To the combined effort through the first and second heat races. That's what lines up the feature. So from there, it's just trying to figure out. Learn the racetrack, learn how to pass, learn the mechanics of the track, and then put it to use as fast as possible.
The wide array of personalities in SRX is just insane. It's still crazy to me that you can get a guy like Josef Newgarden who just won the Indy 500, Paul Tracy and his storied career in IndyCar, and then competing against Clint Bowyer and his craziness, his success over the years, and as they say, only in SRX. Well, once heat racing got underway, the action of course ramped up. The first heat saw Marco Andretti win, with Clint Bowyer winning Heat 2 after the invert of the field from Heat 1. Now with Tony Stewart finishing 5th in both heats, he got the pole for the main event. And during all of it, there was 2 additional drivers that I thought really could have a chance to win. Those 2 being Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch. And with every lap, every car being equally prepared and just the track being so tight and technical, it really made for drivers with short track backgrounds to shine. Though once the green flag dropped on the 100-lap feature, it was all Tony Stewart smoke for the first 40 laps or so. Now it just seemed like every restart, Tony's car would launch off from the get-go. No one could remotely get close to his rear bumper. Though that quickly changed when Keselowski stole the lead. Remember how we mentioned Kyle Busch earlier? Well, he made some noise, so much so to the extent of turning race leader Brad Keselowski. Now looking at the replay again, it just kind of looks like 2 drivers going for one spot, but that ultimately wound up being the race-winning move, as Busch would hold on for the final stretch to win his first career SRX win in his first start. Now not to mention, the Florida Panthers actually won. Sorry Panthers fans, was that too soon? Anyway, here's the top 5. Busch won the race, Clint Bowyer came from 10th on the grid to finish 2nd, Stewart gets his season-best 3rd place result, Keselowski finished 4th, and Ryan Newman, last week's winner, rounded out the top 5. And we caught up with race winner Kyle Busch and 3rd place finisher Tony Stewart after the race. So take a look at some of their thoughts. Tony obviously finished in 3rd. Great run for you, best run of the year. Just how would you assess the night?
I mean, we started off good in the main. I couldn't believe we got enough points to start on the front row there, but grateful for it. But we made some changes during the break and felt like we went the right direction. It just didn't hang on for 100 laps. Seemed like every caution I just got tighter and tighter. So I've never been very good at driving a tight race car. So once it starts losing the front end, I get in big trouble. But Clint did an awesome job, and what he was doing, rolling with the left sides on the apron, I did it in the heat race and it worked. I just didn't even think to do it that early. I was kind of saving that for late in the run because I was afraid if I got doing it too early, then I was going to wear the inside of the tire out and then I'd lose grip. So tried to manage and take care of it the best I could.
And those couple restarts when you were leading, it seemed like a good edge Keselowski, whoever it was up front. But was clean air a big factor in the race, or?
No, I mean, I don't think my balance changed a lot once I lost the lead and got in dirty air. Really, it's that's kind of one of the good things about these cars is that the noses aren't sealed off and it's back to conventional racing and take all the fancy technology out of it and make the drivers do their jobs. And every night the creams rise into the top. So luckily we finally got ourselves in a position to get on the podium tonight.
A final question: being able to be on the podium with Kyle, former teammate, Clint, team owner, just how cool is it for you just to see those guys and to continue to just compete with them, years later after being with them in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, it's you're spot on with it. That's exactly one of the best parts about this. I don't get to race with Kyle anymore on the NASCAR side, and that's by choice. I mean, but it's fun to get to race with these guys that they're running stock cars every week at the highest level. When we get to race with them for 6 weeks, so. It's something that every year that goes by and you're not running in the Cup Series full time, you kind of cherish moments like this a little more because of that.
Congratulations on the win, Kyle. How did you see your car really start to kind of get into a groove there towards the latter part of the race?
Yeah, no, we were really fast. The heat races weren't great, but we worked on the car to make it a little bit better for me to get it to where I had a better feel. And there in the feature, the Florida Panthers car was really good. So thanks to Camping World and SRX and everybody for allowing me to kind of come in here and do this, and Bass Pro Shops and Sport Clips. So had some fun, got a win, and now we look forward to next week.
And how enjoyable has it been for you to be able to come back back to your roots per se and be able to compete with guys you used to compete with and just guys never competed with?
Yeah, a whole different world, right? So I guess I grew up doing this. They probably didn't really grow up doing this and had a different form of how they grew up racing. But, it's nice to kind of show that I guess I still have it. I can do it. I'm pretty good, pretty fast, and just had some fun. So that's what it's all about.
Now there was plenty of carnage as well, with the big one happening with 11 laps to go. Paul Tracy and Josef Newgarden tangled off turn 4, resulting in a big pile-up involving Kenny Schrader, Haley Deegan, and Marco Andretti. And that left plenty of wreckage, to say the least. And then on Friday, SRX decided to suspend Paul Tracy for the accident, and it's unknown how long that suspension will be. Personally, I just saw it as two drivers gunning for the same spot, and just the wall kind of bit them both there at the end. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Tracy's been in his fair share of wrecks, and with Kenny Schrader saying after the race that he's not racing another event with Paul Tracy in it, that sends a pretty clear message. Now, I give my condolences to the SRX team and having to get those cars prepared for next week. I mean, that's such a quick turnaround, and kudos to those guys for making it work every week. Now, this is my first time seeing the SRX in person, and I gotta say, considering how tight of a schedule they're on with it being a one-day show, I left the track super impressed. Now, I'll admit, with it being a heat advisory and trying to find drivers for interviews earlier in the day, it was quite the challenge. But we made it work through the sweat, through the tears, through the burning of your calves, your feet, everything. The cars themselves, on the other hand, those just were so different and unique, and it's cool to see the design of them and just watch them in action. I personally didn't know Motor Mile existed until it was on the SRX schedule, but the track was fantastic. The high bank corners, the simplicity of the garage area, it was the perfect place to host SRX. I mean, when we were on the grid pre-race, just looking out and seeing the crowd jam-packed and ready with their cameras and everything, the flashlights, it just gave a Friday night local short track type of feel, but with the all-star factor, some of racing's finest. Now, one thing that SRX nails every time is having that local flavor to every event that they go to. The racing was just fast and entertaining from start to finish. And that's the advantage of having equally prepared cars. It takes 5 to 10 laps almost to set up a path cleanly. And to watch drivers do that all night was just an added element that you can't get in any other series. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's show. We hope you enjoyed tagging along for the ride, and we hope to get out to more races here soon. But in the meantime, make sure to tune in for more exclusive interviews and content here soon. And make sure to follow this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Behind Catch. Oh, and be sure to like and subscribe as well. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys later.